In the heart of the Middle East, a thunderous echo reverberates. A recent strike in Gaza sends shockwaves around the world. The tension begins to mount in the historic city of Jerusalem, particularly at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Here, Palestinians aspire to establish East Jerusalem as the capital of their future state, a notion that has been met with resistance as Israel regards all of Jerusalem as its eternal capital. The simmering tension is like a lit fuse, waiting to ignite. Amid this brewing storm, a rocket is launched from Gaza, its trajectory set on Israel. It lands with a jarring impact, causing minor damage to a house in southern Israel. This single act, seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things, becomes the spark that lights the proverbial fuse. The act of aggression is met with retaliation as Israeli warplanes take to the sky, striking central Gaza. Their target? Hamas training camps and a rocket production site. The strikes are precise, calculated, and leave no casualties. However the damage is done, the message is clear. The tension that was once simmering beneath the surface has now erupted into full view. The landscape of the conflict begins to shift, and the international community watches with bated breath as the situation unfolds. As the dust began to settle, fears of a broader conflict were beginning to mount. The tension escalated rapidly, turning an already volatile situation into a full-blown conflict. Israel, in response to a rocket attack from Gaza, launched airstrikes in the central part of the region. The targets were not random, but rather meticulously chosen to disrupt the operations of Hamas, a Palestinian militant group. The strikes were aimed at their training camps and a rocket production site, a clear message from Israel that it would not tolerate attacks on its soil. The airstrikes were not without consequence. Though no casualties were reported immediately, the psychological impact of such actions reverberated across Gaza and beyond. The upsurge in violence in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories sparked fears of a wider conflict, not just among those in the immediate vicinity, but across the globe. The international community was not silent in the face of this escalation. The tension was palpable, as global leaders and organizations kept a keen eye on the unfolding situation. The Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem's Old City became a focal point of this tension. Palestinians want East Jerusalem as the capital of a future state, while Israel regards all of Jerusalem as its eternal capital. This dispute, coupled with the escalating violence, only served to heighten the tension further. The world's response was mixed. Some nations and groups condemned the airstrikes, while others placed the blame squarely on the shoulders of the militants in Gaza. Regardless of where the blame was placed, there was a universal call for an end to the violence and a return to peace. As the violence escalated, the world watched anxiously, waiting for a resolution. The hope was for a peaceful end to the conflict, but with each passing day, that hope seemed more and more out of reach. The escalation of tension was not only a significant event in the history of the Israel-Palestinian conflict, but also a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in this volatile region. Hope emerged from the ashes of destruction as a ceasefire agreement was reached. This glimmer of peace came 50 hours after a weekend of hostilities, with the ceasefire between Israel and the Islamic Jihad militant group in Gaza holding firm. Egypt played a pivotal role in mediating the agreement, demonstrating the importance of international cooperation in times of crisis. The terms of the ceasefire were shrouded in secrecy, yet it was known that the negotiations included the release of a captured Islamic Jihad militant and the transfer of a Palestinian prisoner on hunger strike to a hospital. The U.S. welcomed this truce, underlining its significance on the global stage. Following the ceasefire, the pressing humanitarian priority of restoring fuel supplies to Gaza was addressed. This not only helped to stabilize the region's infrastructure but also signaled a small return to normalcy for the people of Gaza after enduring the brutalities of war. Yet, in the aftermath of the conflict, contrasting claims regarding responsibility for civilian deaths emerged. The Israeli Prime Minister proclaimed that the operation had restored deterrence, while the Islamic Jihad stated that they'd fired over 1,175 rockets towards Israel, with the Iron Dome defense system boasting a 96% success rate. However, the European Union called for an investigation into Palestinian civilian casualties, a request echoed by the Palestinian Authority, who condemned Israel's military operation. This stark contrast in narratives exemplified the complexity of the situation, with each party holding firmly to their version of events. The ceasefire held, but the scars of the conflict remained, etched into the heart of Gaza. The physical damage could be repaired over time, but the psychological wounds of war are often much harder to heal. As we move forward, it's crucial to remember the human cost of this conflict and strive to prevent such tragedies in the future. In the wake of the conflict, Gaza was left to pick up the pieces. The landscape bore the scars of the recent clash, with homes and infrastructure reduced to rubble. The stark reality of the situation was that out of 1,650 homes destroyed in the 11-day war, only 50 have been restored. The slow pace of reconstruction is a source of frustration and despair among Palestinians. The struggle to rebuild is not merely a physical one, but a financial one as well. Gaza officials have estimated that it will take approximately $479 million to rebuild homes and infrastructure damaged in the war. Meanwhile, only a fraction of this amount, $100 million, has been made available thus far. Aid has been pledged by Qatar and Egypt, with each country promising $500 million for reconstruction in Gaza. These pledges are a ray of hope, a promise that help is on its way. However, the money alone cannot solve the problem. Israeli pressures and a lack of broader international support are cited as reasons for the slow pace of reconstruction. Despite these challenges, the people of Gaza remain resilient. Egyptian bulldozers have started work on the first of 3 large housing projects funded by Cairo in the northern Gaza Strip. These housing projects are aimed at serving low-income people, hardship cases, and those who lost their homes in the conflict. But the road to recovery is steep and fraught with obstacles. The devastation is widespread and the resources are limited. It's a race against time, a fight against the odds. With most of Gaza's homes still in ruins, the path to recovery appeared daunting and long. Yet the spirit of resilience continues to keep hope alive, serving as a testament to the indomitable spirit of the people of Gaza. Today, the echoes of the past still linger in the present. In Gaza, the scars of conflict are etched deep into the landscape and the hearts of its people. The Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, have made their intent clear. They are resolute in their determination to eliminate Hamas, a mission they acknowledge may span several years. This commitment has cast a long shadow over the region, nurturing an atmosphere of uncertainty and apprehension. Yet amid the tension and turmoil, the international community is raising its voice. Calls for de-escalation are resonating in the corridors of power worldwide, echoing the sentiments of Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani. In dialogue with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the Qatari leader emphasized the urgent need for a ceasefire in Gaza, a plea that underscores the desire for peace and stability in the region. However, on the ground, the reality is starkly different. IDF's ground operations have expanded to encompass the entire Gaza Strip. The sounds of conflict reverberate through the neighborhoods, reaching from southern to northern parts of the enclave. Renewed strikes have hit the Jabalia refugee camp, leaving behind significant damage and casualties. The civilian population, caught in the crossfire, is being instructed to evacuate several areas in Gaza. In the face of these challenges, hundreds of dual nationals have taken the difficult decision to flee, crossing the border from Gaza into Egypt. Among them are 17 American citizens and 130 Turkish citizens seeking refuge from the escalating violence. As the world watches, the future of Gaza hangs in the balance, veiled in uncertainty and hope. The international community's calls for peace are juxtaposed against the reality of ongoing conflict. The hope for a peaceful resolution is palpable, yet the road to peace appears fraught with obstacles. Amid the echoes of conflict, the voices of peace strive to be heard, shaping the narrative of Gaza's present and its uncertain future.